Tyrone Bowman live. I'm going to talk about this article that I found in The Guardian. The headline reads, quote, "This country is going to fall on its face. There's nobody coming to save us. Boston punks Dropkick Murphys take on MAGA." Videos of frontman Ken Casey confronting right-wing provocateurs at the band's gigs have gone viral, attracting new fans and new safety worries. He wants to lower the temperature and see other bands speaking out. So here is a photo of Dropkick Murphys. I'm trying to make it big enough so that when I'm talking, you all familiar with who I'm talking about here. I can't get that photo to, trying to crop it, ladies and gentlemen, trying to crop it. Let me try one more time. All right, that might work. So this is what I'm going to be talking about in this article. It's a pretty lengthy article, and I'm going to take my time and read it because I don't want to mess it up. All right, let's get into this article written for The Guardian by Stevie Chick. So what exactly does it say? Quote, "Backstage at the Rock La Causey Festival in Victoriaville, Canada, where Boston punk rock institution Dropkick Murphys are heading, founding bassist singer Ken Casey is experiencing an uncharacteristic moment of anxiety. Quote, "We have concerns about going back over the border tonight," he says gravely. "Not for the illicit reasons touring musicians usually fear border crossings, but because Casey's regular on-stage rants against President Donald Trump have gone viral. We're not worried about being arrested," he adds. "But we have a show in New York tomorrow. Are we going to get harassed or held up? We used to come over that border and they'd be drop kicks, come right through. But what's it going to be like now?" Quote, close quote. By now, Casey means during the second Trump administration presidency, which has brought the political element always present with Dropkick Murphys' Bolshie, Pogues, and Clash-influenced bruises to the fore. The group's resistance has found its sharpest expression at their shows, where their anthem First Class Loser is accompanied by videos depicting President Trump and former chum Jeffrey Epstein, while Casey's skirmishes with the vocal minority of MAGA drop kicks. Fans in the most pit have lit up social media. He admits these fans often provoke the worst in him. How do you know if someone's in a cult? They hold up a hat all blanking night. He rages in one clip, quote, close quote. "People tell me you didn't use to soapbox like this," he says on all our video gathering stream. "Well, we didn't used to be in the midst of an authoritarian takeover," quote, close quote. Let me say hello real quick to Frank and Hart. All right, let me get back to this article. So, Dropkick Murphys are still commanding big blue-collar crowds as they approach their 30th anniversary in 2026. Over the years, they've scored numerous U.S. top 10 albums, Bruce Springsteen, collaborations, and a platinum seller in the form of Civic Anthem, I'm Shipping Up to Boston, boasted by its appearance in Martin Scorsese's The Departed. But their value system, Casey says, hasn't changed since the now 7-strong band formed with the aim, quote, to be a voice for working people, end quote. Class and the labor movement are key to the 56-year-old's identity. My father died when I was very young. I was raised by my grandfather, a laborer organizer, who instilled in me the value of a union. In the Boston suburb, where I was raised, everyone owed their lives to a union job. It put a roof over our head. Well, you know, corporate America for most instance, they're against unions. It happened in the days of the United States Steel Company with Andrew Carnegie. It happened with the Ford Company back in the day. It happened with so many other monolithic corporations. Unionizing was a misnomer. You couldn't do it. There were fights, murders, raging, all types of places. Remember the movie Fist, starring Sylvester Stallone? What was it about? It was about unions. It was about labor organization. The Boston of Casey's youth was heavily Irish American. The English loved to call us plastic patties. But I've never thought of myself as Irish. I'm Boston Irish. The people that fought against the most, I'm not going to say that word, the most blank, keep the Irish down place that ever existed. He says, referring to how Irish refugees fleeing the great famine of 19th century were targeted by anti-Catholic, anti-immigrant groups and scorned by the English Protestant Puritans who had settled in America. To go from those trenches to positions of power in City Hall, on the railroad, and in the utility companies led to my generation being able to have the middle class life. He pauses for a second, but he's not finished. Casey would make a great labor organizer himself when that's your story. You need to be willing to add the culture that's coming next. One immigrant culture can't close the door behind them, especially not in America. Well, all immigrants here, quote, close quote. And take a tear away in his youth, Casey quit drink and drugs before he reached 21 because otherwise I'd be in prison, he says. I had a big problem as a teen. He plowed his energies into the hardcore punk scene surrounding Boston. Wow. Surrounding the Boston venue, the Rathskeller, aka the Rat Punk Rocket, was the soundtrack to my friggin' anthem. I was a rebellious kid. I liked the underdog vibe in 1996. New booking shows at the Rat. A co-worker bet him $30 he didn't have the blank to start a band on 3 weeks' notice. Never one to back down from a wager. Casey formed Dropkick Murphys. His identity was stamped all over the group before they even use a Celtic instrumentation. The Dropkicks are the rare punk band to field a bagpiper, he says. The embryonic Dropkick sounded like the 1960s Irish folk group the Clancy Brothers meets the Ramones. The delivery, the melodies, the lyrical content, it just naturally poured out of me, quote, close quote. The beginning were hard scrabble, pressing their own singles, booking their own shows, and touring in an old Boston Transit bus for reasons of poverty and pride. We peeled the roof off under a low bypass, he grinned. We toured for 2 more years with that roof open like a convertible. When it rained, I held an umbrella over the driver. By the 21st century, they had become staples of the U.S. punk rock circuit. Their annual St. Patrick's Day shows, among Boston's hottest tickets, performing and recording with their heroes. We play Billy Black's There Is Power in a Union over the PA every night before we go on stage, Casey says. He opened our St. Patrick's show last year with it, then played Workers' Song with us. Afterwards, he said, I felt like I was in the blanking Clash for 3 minutes. Springsteen, another member of the Dropkick's extended family, recorded their Rose Tattoo for a charity single after the Boston Marathon bombing and sang Peg, Oh My Heart with Dropkicks in Boston back when my grandfather Peg was still alive, says Casey. He came on with her for the encore. We had to pry her off Bruce's arm to get her off the stage. I'm almost shocked a guy of that level was so down to earth. But he's always had an affinity with punk. Bruce still walks the talk. Walking the talk matters to the Dropkicks. Their merch is made in the U.S. by union-approved manufacturers, while their Clad Doc Fund supports nonprofit organizations across Boston. We were pretty beloved in our city, whether people liked our music or not, because we gave a lot back to the community, Casey says. Not anymore, however. Now a lot of people in my circle say, blank Dropkick Murphys, he adds. The word F. Lateran jaw clenching, although never to my face, they despise me and the band. It's clear that for Casey, the political is personal. His sense of betrayal regarding the many rank and file union members who are now Trump voters is palpable. They don't think Trump's coming for the unions, but he's coming for the unions, trust me. I tell MAGA friends of mine, Trump wouldn't blank on you if you were on fire. It's about total control for the rich. It's class war, quote, close quote. What is the magic spell Trump has managed to cast over a demographic who were, until recently, Casey says, in lopstock with Dropkick's beliefs? Trump offered them a chance to say out loud things people used to have to whisper to their friends, Casey spits. Racism, cruelty, jokes about disabilities. A lot of white people in America believe whites will not be in control anymore, especially after Obama. This is their last desperate grasp to hold control. Quote, close quote. The Dropkicks have met this grim moment with records that have transformed their previously cartoonish riot music into something more sober, biting, and heartfelt. 2 acoustic albums, 2022's This Machine Still Kills Fastest and 2023's Okima Rising. Set on record Woody Guthrie's plummets to their music. Woody's grandson Cole told his mom, Nora, Grandma would have killed these guys. Casey beams proudly. It made us better musicians doing it all acoustic, but that left us with a hunger to go electric and be a punk rock band again. Which brings us to this year's For the People, which opens with Who'll Stand With Us, a key lyric, quote, the working people fuel the engine while you yank the chain, end quote. In another viral clip from a recent show, Casey bets a fan in a MAGA shirt $100 that it wasn't manufactured in the U.S. It was inevitably manufactured in Nicaragua, and Casey swapped the offering garment for a union-made Dropkick t-shirt. If America is ever going to go back to some semblance of normal, we have to bring the temperature down. We need to be able to talk to each other. You know, civility and respect for one another, despite people's differences, despite their culture and ethnic origins and differences, despite their faiths and religious differences, civil discourse has to come back to the table. All this hate for what? And all these people who are doing all this hating say they're Christians. Well, what kind of Christian theology teaches you how to hate? What type of Christian theology teaches you how to disrespect women and children who don't look like you or live the way you live and do the things you do? Remember when we used to have the Salem witch hunt trials here in America? People forgot about that, but it was true. They had the witch hunt trials here in America for people who were suspected of being witches. Did you ever read the book and watch the movie called The Scarlet Letter? People need to check it out. It's a powerful book. It's a powerful movie. The Scarlet Letter. What is America coming to? Where is America headed? What path is America ultimately going to travel? A divided nation cannot continue to coexist. When you have infighting from within, it leads to self-annihilation. The city of Troy, as long as it was unified from the inside out, as the Greek mythology legend goes, they could not be defeated by their enemies because the fortified walls shielded them and protected them against their enemies. It wasn't until they let their guard down that they received that Trojan horse as a so-called peace treaty. And what happened as a result of that? The entire army was inside the Trojan horse. After all the partying, the orgying, the drinking, and the drunking, what happened? The enemy came out of the Trojan horse and destroyed them from within. All right, I'm going to close this article by continuing to read. Casey says, referencing that night, I talked to that guy afterwards, and he said, I don't like politics. I don't let politics get in the way of family, and I consider you family. I could have jumped down his throat, but he seemed open to reason. He pauses. That's rare for MAGA, though. Other days, I'm like, blank this. I don't even want to know these people. If this is how they think and behave, do I want to have a dialogue with these people? No. I'm just hoping the fever will break. I don't need them to have a come to Jesus moment on the difference between right and wrong. I just need them not to support what's happening. Does he fear blowback for his outspokenness like that suffered by Stephen Colbert or worse? Unlike Stephen, we have no apparent company, so we can say what we want, he says. Well, let me tell you something about Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert is not worried about being fired by CBS. The man's a multi-millionaire many times over. Stephen Colbert will bounce back with another show. You'll see. He'll be back. He'll be back working for a democratically owned company that will not censor him. Just because somebody can get you fired up from behind the scenes does not mean that's the end of you. And when he comes back, he'll come back with more venom than ever. It's a pretty lengthy article. Oh, my bad. I'm coming to the end of it. So in closing, this is what they say. Unlike Stephen, we have no apparent company, so we can say what we want, he says, regarding our safety, whatever, he snarls disdainfully. I'll never have a security guard or anything like that, but you got to keep your head on a swivel a little bit. Back in the day, we always had a Nazi element gunning for us, but you could see them coming. Now you don't know who's who. I'm not sure what's keeping other people quiet, though, especially in punk rock. Where'd everyone go? They had the blank to speak out against Bush back in the day, but Bush didn't have an army of trolls that come after you. Speaking out against Bush wasn't going to cost you half your fan base, potentially. In his darker moments, Casey reckons within a year, this country is going to fall on its face and people are going to feel the pain, recession, inflation, unemployment. There's nobody coming to save us, quote, close quote. I agree with that statement. All the signs are there. People are blindly going through life with blinders on. Everywhere I go, I see it. Homelessness, unemployment, disparity, worry, fear, hunger, seniors struggling, not being able to make it most of the time. And he also adds this. In the group's anti-Trump screens winning them newfound fame, but maybe there's a slight sense of validation, he adds. I talk to the fans every night. One night, an immigrant told me, I moved here and my partner is American. We have children. I live in fear of being deported. My own friends have turned on me. They say, I'm taking American jobs. What American jobs? The farming industry, the agriculture industry is shut. So what American jobs, what is supposed to be taking? You can't even get people to come out to work now because they don't want to work farms. They don't want to work for minimum wage. People don't want to be able not to be able to pay their bills. You know what I mean? People working 1, 2, and 3, sometimes 4 jobs. They're so exhausted. When they get home, all they can do is pass out, get up, clean their face, and go back and slave all over again. And if you think that unemployment can't happen to you, you just ask hundreds of thousands of government workers that got fired through Doge. Maybe the border tonight will be a blank show, but it won't change how the Dropkicks operate in this darkest of moments. We're sticking our neck out and getting a lot of negative attention, yeah. But if we don't do it now, it might be too late. Wow. So for the people is out now on Dummy Luck Music / PLAS, Dropkick Murphy's European Tour. It begins 15th of October in Alcatraz, Malane. Tyrone Bowman, never surrender. Thank you for watching. Never quit.